Hello everyone, this is Shadow Cosmic here, and today I'll be talking about rotation review. Yes, there we go, rotation review. And today's class I'm going to cover is RuneCraft. So unlike the others, this is going to be slightly longer because RuneCraft has a lot of cards that are rotating out, which I think are useful. So yeah, the three parts of this video we're going to talk about, or at least I'm going to talk about, is Spell Boost, or D-Shift, because there's nearly no other Spell Boost that can beat it, and Earthright, and lastly Honorable Mentions. So without further ado, let's go. So I'll be starting off with D-Shift. So in D-Shift is losing Commence Experiment, Time Worn Mage Levi, Kaleidoscopic Glow, Sorcery Cache, Merlin, Fate's Hand, and last but not least, Dimension Shift. So we'll go through them one by one. Commence Experiment, it's not that big of a loss because recently people have been just playing Commence Experiment for concentration. To couple it with Concentration D-Shift to get like a little bit of heal and quite a bit of draw. So Commence Experiment, not that big of a loss. The big one though is Time Worn Mage Levi. Even Levi himself, he's not just run in D-Shift, he's run in Earthright, he's run in Burn Rune, he's run in nearly every archetype of RuneCraft decks, even run in Daria. Okay, he's run in Daria as well. So the reason is because he's one of the followers that can fight for board presence a lot, although he's just a 2-drop. So he's one of the few evolved targets for D-Shift, and with him gone, probably RuneCraft will have to find a different tempo fighter, a different card to replace him, because he was a very useful card. So it's kind of sad to see him go. He's extremely useful and versatile, but as I said, all things come, all things go. So next one is Kaleidoscopic Glow. Now I'm quite glad to see this one go, because it has every single time you play against D-Shift or any RuneCraft deck that runs this card, especially if you are Havencraft, you get punished so bad. Your Sacred Pleas, your Beast Call Arias, they all get bounced back, okay, and you can't play with them. So personally, even though I think the card is quite interesting, I'm glad to see it go, because it no longer punishes like Havencraft for playing what it's designed to play, which is Amulets. So yep, Kaleidoscopic is gone. Sorcery Cache, it was just a very spell boost heavy card. Spell boosts a selected card 3 times, then spell boosts everything else by 1. So yeah, it's useful, but once again it's getting rotated out. Next is Merlin. Merlin from the first standard set. She's getting rotated out as well. She was quite useful in D-Shift because she fetches out 2 spell boost cards along with an evolve, and is also a minion that can fight for tempo. But yeah, now she's getting rotated out. I don't think it's that heavy a loss. The entire D-Shift archetype is dead anyway in rotation format. But it's a little bit sad to see her go, because I think in some more other creative spell boost decks she could have been quite a fun card to play with. Fate's Hand actually quite heavily affects Daria as well, because I know some Daria decks that do play Fate's Hand. After they Daria, they get a free Fate's Hand, and then they can just draw more cards. So Fate's Hand's rotating out, which means RuneCraft will have to find some other type of draw engine to work with. There are plenty of choices, of course, but once again, Fate's Hands is probably the most effective one, since you can like draw 2 cards for 0 cost. And lastly, Dimension Shift. Yes, the culprit herself is getting phased out of rotation. I don't really have anything against Dimension Shift. I think it's a fun deck to play, and that's it. It's a fun deck to play. It's not so much a fun deck to play against. Simple reason, it's because it's probably the least interactive. When you are playing a mirror match with D-Shift, neither of you are not playing with each other. You are basically playing your own game. So both of you are basically seeing who can spell boost faster. So you might as well be playing against a bot because you don't care what your opponent does. You just have to focus on your own hand and boost, 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 boost. So there's nothing wrong with the deck. I just think the design of the deck itself was a little bit flawed in the first place. But yeah, I hope Psy Games makes something similar to D-Shift, but in a more interactive fashion. So maybe you play a follower on the board, and each time you spell boost, it gains some stats or some skill or something. Something more interactive that your opponent can deal with, and something more visual. So yep, D-Shift is finally going out, so we can say goodbye. To all the aggro players, sorry for your losing your free wins. To all the control players, you can now play control again without having to worry about D-Shift. So that's that. We say sayonara to D-Shift. Next, we're going on to Earthright, and Earthright is losing quite a bit. Okay, so we'll start off with the first one. They're losing Scrap Iron Smelter, Apprentice Alchemist, Teachings of Creation, Red Hot Ritual, Runic Guardian, Petrification, Price of Magic, Veteran Alchemist, Remy and Rami, Calamitous Curse, Juno's Secret Laboratory, and Sun Oracle Pascal. Ooh, that was a long list. So, as you can see, I'll just go one by one. Scrap Iron Smelter, it's not that big of a loss, to be honest, because there are currently replacements in Witch's Cauldron, but it is quite painful simply because it doesn't allow Earthright to deal with aggro as efficiently as before. Last time, if you played Scrap Iron Smelter on turn 1, then you can block off like 2 damage of aggro, maybe even 3, because you prevent the 1 drop and the 2 drop from hitting your face. So Scrap Iron Smelter was quite a useful card. Now it's gone. Personally, a little bit sad to see it go, but well, it's gone. Apprentice Alchemist, not a lot of people run it nowadays. They prefer to go for Magic Illusionist and Dwarf Alchemist, but she was quite useful back in the day. She gives you a Conjure Guardian, so you can set up some early defense. Teachings of Creation, just a standard amulet which allows you to draw a card. It's quite useful. It's one of the few draw engines that Earthright has, so kind of sad to see it go. Red Hot Ritual is quite a big one actually, because Red Hot Ritual is one of the few ways, one of the 2 drop removals for Earthright. Earthright does not have a lot of cheap removal. They have like big blasts like Levi, Halo Golem, but not really any small like ping something for 2 damage sort of cards. Red Hot Ritual is one of them, and now that it's getting removed, I hope Psy Games gives Earthright some more early game removal, or else it will really get rushed down by aggro decks quite hard. This is furthermore apparent, seeing that Runic Guardian is rotating out as well. If you have watched my Earthright videos, you know I love Runic Guardian simply because she deals with aggro so well. On turn 3, you have a 3-4 ward. Yeah, a 3-4 ward on turn 3. Insane. But now that she's getting rotated out, once again, Earthright is gonna need some more better early game. So I hope she gets replaced by something better. Petrification. Now, Petrification is quite a big one. It means that you can no longer screw over Seraph when you are playing this deck, because it used to be if you are matched up against Seraph, you could really kill Seraph by just saving your Petrifications. When Seraph comes out, you go boom, and then the Seraph is gone. So Petrification is gone. It also, I know some Earthright decks also, not Earthright, I know some Dimension Shift decks also run Petrification, but as I said, Dimension Shift is dead, and Petrification is also going. So too bad, I guess. Price of Magic. Now this one isn't really a commonly played amulet, but I find it quite useful. I think it's one of the very few ways you can banish a card in RuneCraft. So just a unique amulet that I'm kind of sad to see it go, but oh well. Veteran Alchemist, she isn't played so often nowadays. I believe I saw a few copies of her during when Aggro Sword was running rampant. yeah, I saw a few copies tagged in simply because she heals you for 5 on turn 4, which is quite a bit actually. So it's kind of sad to see her go as well. Her stat line was also quite interesting. It's a 4 drop for 2/5. So it's quite weird, but I liked her. Now Remy and Rami, also an extremely useful card when she first came out. She's a very good evolve target. She summons a Conjure Golem for you while getting the full stats increase from 3/4 to 5/6. So she was very, very good for fighting Temple. And now she's gone. I don't think she sees as much play nowadays as before, but nonetheless, she was a very good 4-drop. I think she can be replaced by Guardian Golem, Halo Golem. I don't think losing her will be such a big loss, but once again, it's sad to see her go. Calamitous Curse. Now this one is quite big because, as you know, RuneCraft already has little enough ways to banish things. Yeah, so Calamitous Curse was one of those ways. Just remove the whole board, especially if you couple it with an Earthright, you remove anything with 5 HP or less. With that gone, Earthright loses a very, very big AoE removal. Of course, now we have Levi, but once again, Levi is only 3 damage. They both work differently, I guess. Calamitous Curse is more board-centered because you clear the board, but Levi can hit face as well. So, losing Calamitous Curse kind of sucks, but oh well. Now, Juno's Secret Laboratory. I've seen people run this deck, run this card in just what I call the war. Basically, they just want to make 1,000,001 Conjure Guardians and Guardian Golems just to make a giant wall of wards. So, Juno's Secret Laboratory, it was fun to play in the day. It's not so viable now, but once again, sad to see her go. Lastly, Sun Oracle Pascal. I remember I opened 3 copies of Pascal even with my limited budget, and I was so happy and I played her such a long time, and then over the years she became more and more of a meme because it was impossible to get her effect to activate. So now she goes and I'm sad to see her go, but we have L'Oreal, her sister, so I guess it's okay, but once again sad to see her go. We'll be missing you, Pascal, if only for the memes. So now up to honorable mentions. We are losing Summon Ice Form. Okay, we are losing Runeblade Summoner. We are losing First Curse. We are losing Fire Chain. We are losing Rime Wind. We are losing Conjuring Force. We are losing Arch Summoner Erasmus, and we are losing Mithril Golem. Now, Summon Ice Form, really it's just because I think it's quite a unique card. It basically gives RuneCraft some defense for 1 turn only, but once again it's quite an interesting card. You summon a 5/5 ward that can't attack for that turn, and then after it dies next turn. But once again, it's quite an interesting card. Runeblade Summoner, because I remember in the standard set it was the first form of Dimension Shift. People would just spell boost Runeblade Summoner to 20/20 and then play 1 Dimension Shift to end the game. She was a fun card, and even now I still play her in my D-Shift deck because you only need to spell boost her alone. Once you draw her, you just start spell boosting her like crazy. First Curse was also a very interesting card. I don't think a lot of people played it, but I found it very fun to play. You play First Curse, then you get a second Curse, and then you get a final Curse. If it was a card that gave you a lot of resources and a lot of removal in just 1 card alone, so I liked it a lot. Not the most viable now, of course. There are more efficient ways to do things now, but once again, a fun card. Fire Chain, because it was one of the most annoying AoE back in the day. You will make your board like you were to fight against D-Shift, you will go white with the board, and then you will just see a Fire Chain destroy everything. So kind of glad to see it go. Rime Wind, because snowmen are awesome, and also because it's a very fun card to play with. It's seen in more Path to Purgatory decks really, because it summons 5 snowmen and bounces like big things back to hand. So once again, an interesting card. Conjuring Force, because memes. I've been beaten by Conjuring Force snowmen before. They summon 5 snowmen, slam Conjuring Force down, D-Shift, and boost up their snowmen to like 10/10s. So fun card, but never really saw play. Arch Summoner Erasmus, because he's a legendary, he really wasn't played much even back in the day. Now you can summon him with Secret of Erasmus, so it's not so losing him isn't such a big deal. And lastly, Mithril Golem, because he's a legendary, and because if you play him, you're probably going playing him for a laugh. Not really. He's not really viable, but oh well. So yep, those are all the cards that are gonna get shifted out. There are more, but I don't think some of them were quite important as these. So yep, why don't you tell me if I missed anything, or leave in your comments what you're sad to see go or what you're happy to see go. And well, I guess I'll talk to you next time. Next time I'm recovering Bloodcraft and what they're gonna lose in the rotations. So see ya.